Masechet Ketubot Daf 74A1. Shavua Tov. We were talking about right now to do with the case of that it was going to be ta'ut with isha achat or shte nashim, if you remember. So it says the Gemara be'ahacha in our case that we're talking about the ta'ut isha achati. It's only mistaken one woman, which means that he got married to a woman on condition, and then he got that was only the kiddushin. But then afterwards it was a full marriage, right, without any condition. Okay, there was no girushin in between. So therefore, in such a case, because she was a ktana, remember we were talking about that the father got her married off, and then he divorced her, and then he got her married to her again. But now remember, in such a case, right, that's also going to be a problem. Again, they said there's still machloke between Chachamim and Rabbi Eliezer. Okay, but according to Chachamim, she does yibum, right? Why? Because when she got older, he had relations with her for kiddushin, and therefore it's a question against Rabbi that he says ta'uti shachat, right? Everybody agrees that she doesn't need a get. So answers Gemara Hatam Nami over there also. The Akami Pageh, what are they dealing with? What are they arguing with? Savar Adam Yodea, more Savar Adam Yodea She'en Kiddushay Ktana Klum Gamaru Bala She'Kiddushin. One of them holds everybody knows that Kiddushin of Ktana, the Klum is at the end. So therefore, what happens? So then he's going to have relations with her again for Kiddushin. More Savar and Adam. No. Once she become older. Remember, he got married to her when she was a Ktana, divorced her, took her back when she's still a ktana. Now, the second marriage was nothing. The father's original marriage that he got her married off, that is a good marriage. But the guy divorced her. So now, when he takes her back again, right, zeklum, it's nothing. She becomes older. Then now what happens is that since everybody knows, according to the Shita, everybody knows that Kiddushim of a ktana is klum, when he had relations with her again, it was actually to mamash, to have a new Kiddushin. More sabab, Rabbi Eliezer holds, he says not everybody knows that. So therefore, when he's having relations with her, he's having relations with her for the original marriage. And since the original marriage was nothing, right, because it was kiddushin ktana, so it's nothing. Itmar Nami was also stated. Says if somebody is going to come and do kiddushin on condition, al tanai, ubaal, and then he has relations, okay. According to everybody, she does not need a get. Right? Why? Because since everything was done in Tanai, and then the Tanai was not fulfilled, so you don't need a get. So right? So ask Ravacha bered Ravika. Barachate ben achoto of Ravacha bar Yaakov. He says chalitza mutet shera. If there was a chalitza that was done b'ta'ut, you understand why it was done b'ta'ut? Meaning they tricked the guy to do the chalitza. So it's going to be kosher. Right? So he says, what is a chalitza mutet? You remember we learned this in Ivamot, which means that what happens, we said that if it was not a proper person, we would even trick him in order to do chalitza, in order to get her off the hook, right? Of the yibum, basically. So we asked, what is a chalitza mutet? A chalitza which is done a mistake. Amar Shakish says, Shakish, kol shomelo, if you're going to tell him, chalotz laukachata konusa. You know what? You want to get married to her? Fine, do chalitza. And by doing chalitza, you get married to her. Now, you guys all learned the Yevamot. If you do chalitza, you married her? No. So that's the trick. The trick was, we came in, meaning with the guy, huh? But they did it on purpose, right? The rabbis did it on purpose in order to save the woman. Obviously, it was only in certain circumstances they would do it. You understand? But that's what they would do. So he says, that's a shita of Resh Lakish. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Ani shoneh, I'm going to say, Ben shenitkaven hu v'lo nitkavna hi. Ben shenitkaven hi v'lo nitkavenu chalitza b'nusah. He says, no. According to Rabbi Yochanan, this doesn't help. Why? Because according to him, in order for it to be good, it has to be that it's a good kavanah from the beginning until the end. Right? That means from the beginning, they both have to have kavanah for chalitza. And if one of them doesn't, it doesn't help. And you're going to tell me chalitza tak shera? Rather, Rabbi Yochanan says, what is chalitza mutet? If he comes and he tells him, what happens if they tell him, you know what? Do chalitza to her. And she's going to pay you 200 zuz. She's going to give you money, right? In order to do the chalitza. All of a sudden, she doesn't give him a penny. So Alma, once he did the action, he's already forgiving the tanai. Same thing here. Again, this was all in order to protect the woman. In certain circumstances, they purposely came and they wanted to protect her. So therefore, what happened is that they're saying, this is what you're going to do. So they went and said, okay, fine. Yeah, you want? Okay, fine. You want a chalitza? No problem. You do the chalitza, we'll pay you for it. Yeah? We'll pay you for it. And the guy comes and he says, you know what? Okay, fine. Yeah, pay me. How much do you want? $20,000. Oh, it's a big price. Okay, she'll pay you $20,000. He does the chalitza, boom, he doesn't pay it by a penny. So what happened? They tricked him into it, but it's still going to be kosher according to Rabbi Yochanan. So Elmaleh bar Rav. So says, right, bar Rav is a ben yeshiva. Bar, the son of Rav, of a yeshiva. So bar Rav, he says, Shapir kamarta. Says what? This is what you said. Michti. Kol Tanai mecha gamlin. What do we learn every single Tanai? The concept of Tanai we learn from Tanai b'nei Gad uvnei Reuven. Okay, that was the Tanai, right? The Moshe Rabbeinu came, right, and he did, right? B'nei Gad uvnei Reuven. Im yavru b'nei Gad uvnei Reuven. Yitchem et hayden chalutza b'nichaman teten right in the Haaretz. V'im lo yavru. Literally, he went and he said it's a double Tanai. What does it mean double Tanai? If you go over and if you don't do it, meaning that it has to be the positive and the negative, meaning if you do this and if you don't do this. Tanai a Tanai that you could do it through a shaliach, just like over there, it's a good Tanai. But if you cannot be mekayem it through a shaliach, ki hatam, just like over there, it's not going to be a good Tanai. So says the Gemara, v'habiyah. What about biyah? You cannot be mekayem the biyah through a shaliach. Ki hatam, just like over there, v'kahavi Tanai, and it's a good Tanai. So answers the Gemara, he says over there, all the havayot are going to have a hekesh between them, right? Which means that all of them are together. We're making a hekesh juxtaposition, the proximity. So all of them are going to be together. So Amar of Ula bar Abba Amar Ula Amar Rabbi Elazar says of Ula bar Abba Amar Ula in the name of Rabbi Elazar Am Kadesh b'malveh u'ba'al. Imagine right now a person's mikadesh a woman with a milveh, with a loan, which means he comes and he tells her, right, listen, how much do you owe me? $100,000, right? You get married to me, I'm mochel the $100,000. Sounds good, no? Yeah? So what happened? He has relations with her, right? Al t'nai u'ba'al. So, and then afterwards, he got married to her al t'nai. Then he has relations with her. Be'pachot mishaveh pruta, or another case, right? What happens? He went and he got married with pachot mishaveh pruta. Remember, in order to get married, you need a shaveh pruta. U'ba'al, then he has relations with her. According to everybody, you need a get. Why? Because a person does not make his bi'atznut, and therefore he actually had relations for kiddushin. So Amar of Yosef says that Yosef of Menachem Amar Rabbi Ami Hamkadesh bePachot Mishaveh Pruta uBaal Tzicha Menu Get. She needs a get. Behahu delotai. Why? Because in this of kiddushin of less than a Shaveh Pruta, nobody makes a mistake. However, though, by the case of the milveh, there he will make a mistake. So because of that he thinks that she's actually married that way, because he thought that he got married through this kiddushin, and not everybody's bekin in this. So therefore, that's why there's going to be a difference. The bilah is not a biyah for kiddushin, and therefore she doesn't need a get. One more time, the case of pachot mishaveh pruta, everybody knows you cannot get married with a penny, right? It's or less than a shaveh pruta. So for the fact that it's not worth anything, so if you're going to do that, everybody knows. So if everybody knows, so then what happens? So therefore, what happens is when he has relations afterwards with her, it's for sure for kiddushin. But to do the milveh, he thought it was really a really good marriage. He thought that he could forgive a debt, and by forgiving the debt, he just now becomes married to her. So because he thought it was a good marriage, he's not doing the biyah afterwards for kiddushin. So because of that, it's not a good kiddushin. It's not a good marriage. He doesn't need a get. Okay. Amar of Kahana Mishmeh de Ula says the Kahana in the name of Ula. Hamkadesh al Tanai uBaal. Somebody has relations, right? He does kiddushin on Tanai, and then he has relations with her stam. She needs a get. So Yama said this was the story that happened. And the Chachamim did not take her out without a get, which means that she still needed a get. Now, Puke Maitana, to come to exclude that which the Tana actually taught, right? Which the Tana taught, the Amar of Yudah Mishmuel Mishmael says Yudah Mishmuel, the name of Mishmael, V'hino nitpasa, right? If it says V'hino nitpasa, she's asura, hanitpasa, but if she was grabbed, muteret, she's going to be muteret. There's going to be another case, that even though she was not grabbed muteret, she's going to be permitted. What is this case? But the kiddushin is going to be kiddushet taut. Because even if the son is going to be on the shoulders, right? 74b, she could come and she could do. We learned in the Braita, halcha etzel chacham v'tira. Imagine a woman that comes and she gets married al tanai. And what was it tonight? That she doesn't have any nidarim. And then all of a sudden what happened is that she goes to the rabbi and she does atara nidarim. Mekudeshet. She's going to be mekudeshet. But let's say she has mumim, she's got blemishes, and after the kiddushin, she goes and said, Rofeh v'ripeh ota. She went to a doctor and he did plastic surgery. Yeah, and then he cured her. Ena mikudeshet. She's not going to be mikudeshet. Why not? Ma ben chacham l'rofeh. What's the difference between a chacham and a rofeh? It's the same thing, no? The rabbi permits and the doctor heals. What's the difference? Chacham okiret neder mikaro. The chacham, he uproots the neder retroactively from the beginning. The rofeh enu merapeh, but the doctor only does a mikano rabah from now onwards. Which means that the way that it does by hatarat nedarim, it's ki'ilu that it was never done. So it was never done, so she never had nedarim. But by the doctor, she had a mum. Okay, so now the doctor cured her. He was able to, but she still had it, and therefore it could either come back or something could happen. Something that it's not the same. So that retroactively you come and you take it. So ask the Gemara, what are you talking about? By both of them, we said that it's not going to be mekudeshet. So Amar Rabba comes and he says, "Lakashas on a question." Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Lazar. One of them is Rabbi Meir, right? And one of them is Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Meir comes and he says, "Damar Adam veti." Right? It means that a person doesn't care if his wife is going to be embarrassed in a veti, which means that's why he doesn't care that she has to go to a chacham and do a tarat nedarim. So she went and she did it. She's still mekudeshet. Why? He doesn't care that she's going to a bedin and she's going to be embarrassed like that. Rabbi Lazar, but Rabbi Lazar says, "En Adam veti." A person does not want his wife shall become a disgrace in a betin. And therefore, even though they came and they uprooted it, lemafreya, there's no problem. So says the Gemara, Maihi, what's the machloket exactly? The Tanam is we learned in a Mishnah, motzit ishto mishum neder. The person comes and he divorces his wife because she was an adranit. Lo yachzir, he shouldn't take her back. Why? Right? Why? Because at the end of the day, it's a suit to take her back, right? Afterwards. However, though, mishum shemra, let's say he divorced her because he heard that there was he's having he's doing relations, she's having relations, she's cheating on him, things like that. Lo yachzir. Also, now what are the two reasons? Chachamim say because of kilkul. What does it mean kilkul? Because if you're going to come and tell her you could take her back, right? Maybe what's going to happen is that maybe be'emet everything that they're going to matir the neder, or all of a sudden they're going to say there was sheket, and then the first husband will come and say, if I would have known that everything was false, so I wouldn't have divorced her. And then what happens to the children? The mom sitting. You understand what happened? One more time. Right? A person comes and divorces his wife. Why? Because she has nadarim. Or because he heard that there was rumors that she was committing adultery. So now he can never take her back. Why do we make such a law he can never take her back? Because if we would say he could take her back, what's going to happen is, imagine right now there's a rumor. He divorces her, right? She gets married to somebody else. And all of a sudden he found out the rumor was false. So what's happening? He's going to go to the second guy. He's going to say, well, if I would have known that everything was false, I would have never divorced her. So now what happens? She's already married to the second husband. She has children. They're all mamzerim. So because that we said, you're divorcing her for one of these reasons. There's nothing what to do. So that means you understand that there's nothing, even if it's 100% false. So make sure before you get divorced today, make sure you realize what you're doing. Same thing with Nadarani.
Children from the second husband?
Of course. Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says, Kol neder sheyadu bo rabim, any neder that the rabim know, lo yachzir, right? They do not take it back. Lo yadu bo rabim yachzir. Meaning, if the neder was known to the public, she can never take them back. But if it was not known to the public, he could take her back. Rabbi Meir says, Kol neder shetzarich hakirat chacham. Any neder that needs a hakirat chacham, lo yachzir. Right? You do not need to take. You cannot take her back. But if it does not need hakirat chacham, right? So then yachzir. Then you do take her back. Which means that sometimes, right, when the chacham has to come and he has to, he has to do a tarat nedarim, right? He has to actually be choker. He has to understand what was the neder, why, where's the petach, where's that. But if he doesn't need it, so then it's okay. Rabbi Lazar omer, echad shetzarich chacham, echad shetzarich lo yachzir. You never take her back. Why? Because again, the same thing, right? That he could have said, listen, I didn't know she was going to do a tarat nedarim, and I didn't know this, and I didn't know. Amar Rabbi Lazar says, Rabbi Lazar lo asru tzarich ela tzarich. Which means they didn't prohibit a time when they needed chakirat chacham, only because of the time that they did not need chakirat chacham. Okay? My time at Rabbi Yehuda, what's the reasoning of Rabbi Yehuda? Ichtiv, as it says in the pasuk. What does it say in the pasuk? It says in the pasuk, "Velo hikum bnei Yisrael ki nishbeu lahem nesiya eda." Right? What does that mean? That he didn't hit bnei Yisrael, which means the bnei Yisrael, they could have done hatarat nedarim. Right? Why? Because the Givonim went and they made them swear like with a trickery, and then so what happened? They could have went and they could have done Natarat Nedarim. The Kama Rabbim. So what is a Rabbim exactly that you cannot do right? That there's no hatara. So Nachman Bar Yitzchak Amar, Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, Shlosha, we're on Ayin Hamud Aleph, right? 75A1, right? 3 people, right? Yamim ze Shnaim, Rabim ze Shlosha. When it says over there, Yamim Rabim, Yamim means 2, and when it says Rabim, it's 3. So therefore, if it's going to be already here that the Tum'ah is going to be 3 days minimum, okay? Because it says Yamim Rabim. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yitzchak Amar, Rabbi Yitzchak says, Asara, right? It's going to be 10. Why? Eda ketiv behu. Because it's written Eda. What does it mean by an Eda? Which means since it says Eda, Eda is always a congregation. Congregation is always 10 people. Rabbi Meir says, Kol neder shetzarich hakirat chacham yizir, Rabbi Elazar Omer lo asur tzarich ela minei shetzarich. So according to Shitat Rabbi Meir, only if you need hakirat chacham, that the chacham has to investigate, then you cannot take her back. But according to Rabbi Elazar, it's true, but they only prohibited though when you need because of when you didn't need. So my coming, what's a machloket? At the end of the day, both said the same thing. You're right. There's a difference in the how did you get there, but they both hold the same thing. So Rabbi Meir says Adam rotzeh shtibasei ishto b'vedin. Rabbi Elazar sover and Adam rotzeh shtibasei ishto b'vedin. The machlok between them is, does a person care that his wife now has to go in front of the din and start explaining and this and that? Does he care or not? According to Rabbi Meir, right, it says he's not makpid. A person is not makpid that his wife will go to a bedin, right, and come and have to start doing these things. According to Rabbi Elazar, he is. The Rava comes and he says from over here, we're talking about a very, very important woman. So therefore, that she says, I don't want to become, he doesn't, so he could say, listen, I don't want to become prohibited to the family members of my wife, right? Because remember, what happens is the second that it's become considered a divorce and everything, he becomes prohibited to all these other women. Now, if it wasn't a good Tanai, right, which means that she didn't fulfill the Tanai, but she was another Anit, so if there was no marriage. So he could get married, whether it's to a sister, to this, to that, to all the other family members. If so, Seifa Diktani Aval Hu, right? But when the Seifa says, but he, that he's going to go to Chacham to do a Taran Nidrim, and so if every Peoto, Mekudeshet, he is going to be married. Litzni Eno Mekudeshet, we should also say he's not Mekudeshet. We're talking about a very important person. Right, but remember, the same halakha would apply. What happens if a person comes and he says he's going to get married to her if he doesn't have a blemish, and he does have a blemish, or he's going to get married to her if he doesn't have a mum, and he does have a mum, and then he went to the doctor to get cured, or he went to the rabbis to do a taran nidarim. So there we said that it is mekudeshet. Now the question is why. So the amra, because he said lo nichali diitza bikrove, right? She said I don't want to be prohibited to your family members. So ihi bechol dehu nichala, right? But he says no, the woman, with anything, she's going to be happy. Why? Because the women always want to get married. So sometimes they don't even care if it's going to be with a proper husband. They just want to be married. Right? So it doesn't matter. Right? They just want to be married. It's not good. They want to be married. Right? That's the way of a woman. Right? Remember, a woman would prefer to get married to I don't know what than to say an almanah all her entire life, an old maid. Instead, she doesn't want to do that. So she'll get married to whoever it is. Okay? What happens if says the Gemara is like Reshakish. Now, Reshakish, Tav lemeitav tandu, lemeitav melu. What does that mean? A woman would prefer, right? Leolam tova davar leshevi b'shnayim. What does that mean? She wants to be with her husband than to be by herself. So because of that, she doesn't care. Right? And this, by the way, applies every single time. You understand? This applies all the time. Abaye says the shum shemana gavra. What does that mean? A woman that her husband is small like an Elmaleh. He's small like an ant. She's going to put, right? She's still putting her chairs, right? In a, you understand? In what's it called? In a higher place. What does that mean? Right? At the end of the day, she still feels that, he's an Adam Chashuv. Why? Because she also has a husband. He's a little ant. She also feels, important. Rav Papa says, he says, the Napsa Gavra. What does it mean, the Napsa Gavra? Right? He says a woman, right, that her husband is minapest 7, which means he's coming and he's flaxing, with the wool and everything. Right? She's going to call him always, that way he should come, which means that she's always going to be mitgaye and her husband, even though her husbands are nothing. She's going to come and she's going to do that. Ravashi says the kalsa gavra, right, a woman that he's got a shemetz pasul in zichut, lo bae tlaf chelekidra. She's not going to ask him, not even which means even a husband like that, right? She's going to, right? The main thing is get married to her. He's got a problem in genealogy. Doesn't matter. However, though, we did learn that in all these cases, usually they're going to cheat on their husbands, and then they're going to be toleh, right, in their husbands. Meaning, in all these cases, they do get married, but they fool around, right? And then what happens? Kilo, yeah, it's their husband, their husbands. That's what it is. So, Shem Yazor. We continue tomorrow. We're on the 2 dots.